Hey there, my friend. Welcome to yet another episode of the Best Kept Secret podcast. And today we're going to talk about healing for healers. What about that? Just like every coach has a coach, every healer, sure, needs a healer. Somebody to hold space for you, somebody to expand your capacity even more. You've expanded and expanded and expanded, but at some point, you need somebody to hold space for you so you can even go to your next level. And today we're going to talk about all things visibility, all things fear of being seen, all things really contracting your work as a healer. With me is a beautiful soul, Jenn Savage. And Jenn is really dedicated to helping the spiritual expert that doesn't feel quite savvy with all the internet, marketing, tech, and all of the things. So think about like a healer, like a therapist. Think about you that was doing really well before COVID. Think about the hands-on type of healer. Think about the acupuncture type of person. Think about you that really enjoyed helping people physically, in person, in your garage, wherever. And then COVID hit and everything started to be digital, and you're like, where do I start? What do I do? What is social media? Why do I even need to do this? Is this even right? Like ethically, you feel thrown off, and that is keeping you really, really, really small. You feel like you're not serving people. You feel like you're not doing your best work in the world. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about. Whatever it is that is keeping you from expanding your work and doing the work that you're here to do in a way that feels expansive enough for you. That's what we're going to talk about. That is Jenn Savage. Okay? If that's you, if you know somebody that needs this, pull that stool, pull that tea, share this link with them, and let's kind of have a conversation. Jenn, welcome to the show. I am so honored.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Very welcome. Tell us more about the work you do as I try to go in and out of it. What is it that I may have left out that is so key to the work you do?
I mean, I think you talked about COVID, right? And
Mm.
and the online experience that's now available to us. And I think that like why is that important is because like a new world is being created, and part of that is a global audience rather than what used to be just our local. And that's not to say the local in-person experience for healers isn't important, because I think what we do in our communities and neighborhoods are. But for those of us who feel really called or feel like they have a big mission or that they want to reach, 1 million subscribers or sell their book to 1 million people, we have to be thinking in a broader way. And that means creating a capacity not only to understand how and where we're going to do that in terms of the system, but for our nervous system to be able to hold that next level of visibility. And really understanding the vulnerabilities of sharing our story on a bigger stage, and what that opens us up to, and just how we navigate that in a way that feels really authentic to who we are.
Amazing. How long have you done this work?
I've been in the healing field for more than 2 decades. So I've been doing hands-on body work, intuition, all of the spiritual counseling for a really long time. And then for me, the transition happened when I realized, I had two babies in a 3-year period. And I wanted to be able to be with them and not have to go into the office. So then I started studying, what is this online marketing thing? And how do I make that happen for myself? And so 16, 17 years later now, I've kind of married the healing work with the spiritual business so that people can also not have to go into an office or be restricted by, you know, when people can come be with them in person.
COVID came to help, but also kind of threw some of us back. But I think really what happened with COVID can be something we take and even just expand our work more instead of, always thinking, oh, that's too much. That's not for me. I don't know how to do it. I am not in this century and that century. I don't know where my computer is. I don't know where my things are. I can't open my windows. Like, hey, like we gotta pull you out of, I don't know where to open what. Like we gotta pull you out of that and get you really comfortable. This is my belief, Jenn, that if we can reduce the anxiety around social media, going live, putting our things out there, from even a 10 to like a 4, that people will do it. The problem
And I
is,
think,
yeah.
yeah, I think what you're saying is so valid and important because I have this conversation over and over with all of my clients, which I'm sure is a familiar conversation for you as well. And it looks like a tech problem, right? It looks like I can't open my windows, but that's just what you said. It's the way that anxiety is manifesting. And
It
it's
is,
like
it is.
if we could just say, oh, it's not about social media, it's not about the computer, it's not about what I do or don't know in tech, it's that I'm actually afraid right now. And can we just stop for a moment and be really present with the fact that there is, again, the vulnerability of taking that next step and the resistance that shows up. And we sometimes call that anxiety. We sometimes call that ADD, non-focus, fuzzy brain. Like it shows up in all these ways. But if we could just like slow ourselves down enough to say, wow, I'm having a high sensory experience right now, and move into inquiry from that higher wisdom that we all carry to really be present with what's occurring, then we can mine that moment for gold. We can see how there's some part of us that's constricted and in fear, maybe a younger part of us that has, feels anxious, and we can bring love to that part of us. We can hold that part of us in a new way and help it remember it has everything it needs inside of us to take that next step and grow into this bigger version that we're all already are, but haven't yet fully realized.
I really love your work, and I want to tell one 1 second story. I had a massive block around marketing, like around sending emails at one point. And I kid you not, Jenn, I couldn't send an email a day.
Yeah.
I always felt like this is pushy. This is too much. This is invasion of privacy. This is really pushy and salesy. I don't want to be emailing people every day. And I went on and I went on and I went on and I went on. And one day I had to face the fact that every day I don't send an email, that there is someone that risks dying with their message buried inside them. And I had to face that and say, okay, Prima, whoever helped me process this said, okay, Prima, this is going to be very simple for you. For every day you don't send an email, this is what you're doing. You're saying the one best kept secret has to stay secret for life. And I'm like, I was like, yeah, that's what you're doing. Every
Well,
time you
and what is
wake
so
up.
important, yeah, what's so important about that is you shifted it from what you're doing wrong
Yeah.
to being in service to what the work is really calling from you, right? That shifts everything when we get out of ourself and we realize we really genuinely care about our clients. We want to show up and better the world through this work we do.
Yeah.
That level of giving and service and showing up is actually a gift. So what a beautiful, yeah, that's so
I
such an
still get
important shift.
angst around that. Like he literally said, all right, Prima, I want you to think about your emailing system as every email you send is $100 bill. And you are going to like someone's door. They don't know that you're there. But every day when they sleep, you go there, you drop $100 and you leave. And then they wake up, they open their door and they go, woo, $100. And he said, every day when they sleep, I want you to think about your email as you're creeping in at their door, leaving $100 and leaving. And he said to me, would any part of that experience feel like this person who keeps leaving me $100, what do they want from me? And I was like, okay. Then
Again,
I
that's
was
the
like,
reframe. Yeah, that's so important. And what I love about this work is that that metaphor, that experience of that energetic gifting, right? That changed everything for you.
oh,
Even if it's still uncomfortable, you can be in the energy of abundance and flow and giving, and that changes that kind of hard thing that we still have to show up to do, right? We can bring a different energy to it, which will then get a different result.
yeah. That was like a 10 for me. And then it moved like to like maybe a 3. I still don't fancy the all this email
Of
and this email and this
course.
email, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I will do it with love to just serve one more person from this email. May decide to share the message. It's all right. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. And I'm like, yeah. Before we go on, I
Well, I
wanna.
just want to say one more thing about this because I think it's important, right? Because there's also in the audience, people are going to be so overwhelmed to be like, I could never send an email every day, right?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
point is, you don't have to.
Mm.
Like there is a number of emails that is right and aligned for you and your audience based on who that is and what your mission is. So
Mm.
if anyone is listening and feels overwhelmed by like, oh my God, I never would want to send an email every day, you don't have to. You have to be committed to sending the amount of communication that is in alignment and works with the people in your audience. And knowing those people and what your gift is such an important piece of this puzzle, right?
Yeah. But also, if we can look at it as, dropping in to give them a hug, dropping in to drop
Exactly.
some candy at the door. Like,
Yeah,
if you
I
can
love that shift.
energetically shift that and say, hey, who am I giving some $50? Who am I giving $100? It's a gift. You're a gift. You don't have to
Yes,
invite them to something all the time, but you can
right.
kind of say, hey, this is my thought for you. This is a meditation for today. This is something for today. People go through a lot of things in their life, and really giving yourself an opportunity to be there and to kind of
Absolutely.
always keep them moving and keep them, like it. An email is like a small gift. This is one line for
Absolutely.
you today. I am sending you love. I'm sending you
Yeah, to
positive light.
contemplate, to think, and it's
Yeah.
your energy that is then, it's
Mm.
like that, those words, that gift is from your heart, right? And
Yeah.
that it's so beautiful to hold it that way. And so often it gets like the sales part of it makes it a little funky, you know? It's like, well, we can gift and still have a genuine ask at the end of it. If you have something that you're selling, people want to know about it. It's like it's a gift to let them know. And like you said, not all of those emails are sales emails, but I feel like there's so many hiccups along the way of like,
Yeah, there
first it's
is.
sending the email and then what's the content of the email and then what's that leading to? And every
Yeah.
one of these sort of,
Yeah.
places along the way become grist for the spiritual mill, right? We get to see where our resistance is, where we still have work to do, where we haven't really metabolized all of our resistance. And then we get to be accountable, talking about being a healer's healer, it's like that's the work that's required of us. I always tell my clients, it's not about the email you send, it's not about the book you write, it's not about the program you launch, it's who you're becoming in the process because you're showing up to make that possible. It's
Mm.
like we externalize it as what we're doing, but it's who I'm becoming that's important. And meeting myself along the way, doing this work, expanding my capacity, that's the real gift. That's the
Yeah.
real purpose.
Doing the work that it wants to keep you small. Is what's the feeling around sending that email? Is it like, oh, really can't wait? Or is it like, another email? That's a different email landing in someone's inbox. But before we get ahead of
Totally.
ourselves, Jenny, like, I want to know about what happened for you. Like, what was that shift? Take us back and kind of tell us what happened for you. When did you decide, okay, I want to solve this problem, not just for me, but for all the healers? Like, I want to grab that story. I feel like we missed it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important that I just go back and reference when I had my kiddos, right? So it's like here I was, a new mom. I
Mm,
was postpartum. I was like, I'm not going into the office every day because I have this new responsibility, which is pretty all-consuming. And then this
mm,
online marketing thing dropped into my world, right? I suddenly started realizing, oh, I could build an online business. And so I took some steps forward back in the day, if you had a, that welcome email or that welcome video on your website, it was like that was all the rage and that was your opt-in gift. And so I had this really, for me, it was the first time I ever invested a high amount of money into video production, a photographer, a makeup artist. Like I went all out and I had this experience of getting a video created for my website. And then I was housing it on YouTube
mm,
and thought it was set to private. Turns
mhm.
out it wasn't set to private, and whomever wanted to see it could see it, right?
Mhm.
And so I got the emails like, you have comments on your YouTube video in my inbox. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Right. And so, and I was kind of like confused because I didn't know that they could even see it. How could they leave comments on it? And then I was devastated by the comments because it was two men attacking me pretty viciously, calling me derogatory names, saying that I was a crazy bitch. Who was this woman? Like tagging his friend, and they were both kind of going at me. And at that point in my journey of being an online entrepreneur, I was so green and I was devastated by the ridicule, by the confirming that it was not safe for me to bring my message to the world. Like all of these unconscious stories that I was carrying were proved true by this experience, by these men
Mm.
attacking me.
Wow, that
And
was bad.
and it hit my system in a way that I completely shut down. I
Mm,
never posted that video for anyone to see. And I kind of like went into my little hidey hole. And then I realized the initiation and this witch wound that we talk about of
mm,
why women are afraid to share their voice, how the world
mm,
can be really cruel, and especially for people who aren't in a spiritual space, who understand energy, who are on a healing path. Like it's a different language we're speaking.
mm,
It opens up the hater. It's like, fodder for the haters. And so it became an initiation for me to realize, oh, all of this occurred so that I could take that unconscious belief that was holding me back, bring it and put it on the table in front of me and start examining, is it true? And it is true because I have evidence of it, but also not true because those men who made those comments are not my audience. They're not
mm,
the people I'm here to help, right? So that was like a really deep, kind of exaggerated example of fast forward all these years, conversations I have with women who have unregulated nervous systems, who have
mm,
fear about being attacked or using their voice or seeming crazy and I'm like, yeah, I've been there. I've walked through it. I understand, darkness throws stones. It's what it does, right? If there's
mm,
light in the world, somebody is going to throw a stone. And I'm okay now because my tree trunk, the essence of me, the embodiment of me can handle a few stones being thrown now. Whereas 15 years ago, it felt devastating to me. So that was really my journey over the course of, I would say, a good 10 years of healing my
mm,
own trauma, doing a deeper level of work, really understanding online spaces, but also the inner workings of those sensitive souls who are trying to figure out how to show up in a new way and do their work. So that was a pivotal moment for me in this journey.
and imagine. Let's talk about the system. How do I move from I don't know where my pattern is. I am no longer young. I am no longer beautiful. Whatever the thing is, I have a
Mhm.
bad voice. I have bad hair. I don't know, whatever the thing is.
Right. Yeah.
I
The not
cannot,
enoughness.
I
Yeah.
cannot share my message. I can't be on camera. You know what? Because I'm camera shy or I'm camera tip, whatever the reason is. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the process of walking through whatever that is, your signature process. I'd love for you to share it in a few minutes. Like, let's talk through this. How do
Yeah.
I walk through whatever the baggage is that is really making visibility seem like a monster, yet that's the
Yeah.
conduit through which I am meant to share my message. It's like you're pregnant, but you're scared to death for labor.
Give birth.
But without the labor, that the baby has to come out somehow. And
I
so
love that metaphor. Yeah, because it's like it's going to be messy. It's going to hurt, right? The growing
yeah,
pains of
yeah,
moving beyond the comfort zone. It's
yeah.
like it's hard. And so a lot of people feel the difficulty and think like either I can't do it or something's wrong because I feel the intensity of this rising, right? And we want to make it's like we
Mm,
want to make pain go away at whatever cost. Distraction,
mm,
addictions, like whatever it is, right? So we need the first step is really just to acknowledge
mm,
that there's a call in your heart and something greater than you is, you know, call it spirit, call it God, call it truth, whatever it is like there is an impulse in you for something greater. And so, like for me, that's clarifying the vision. It's yes, there's something here.
mm,
And I'm committed to it. This is my responsibility. This is my work. And as I move towards that, I'm going to hit resistance. So again, going back to what I said in the beginning of our conversation of like, we have to slow down
mm,
enough
mm,
to really see what's going on and discern that internal truth and then all the lies that our mind and it's like all the lies that are being told, the story we're telling ourselves, the excuses we have, all, and cultivating enough presence to be able to say yes and.
mm.
Even though I feel afraid, there is something true and powerful that wants to come through me. Even though I have no idea how it's happening, my commitment is such, right? And so it's learning to live in the paradox of that negative voice might not ever go away, but there is a way to unhook our system, our nervous system experience of that fear, resistance into a state of rest where we can build trust, stop betraying ourselves, and actually take action on the thing that's required to move us forward.
I love it. I like to say that people have a choice to choose their pain. There's a pain of expansion, a piece of getting to a place of, so there's this pain of getting to a place of peace with the vision on your life, the calling on your life, and it's big and
Right.
bigger and bigger. And so there is the unknown, there is this territory you have to expand into, and this keeps calling and it keeps calling and it keeps calling. And
Yes.
it just gets uncomfortable every day. But there's the other option, which is the pain of contraction. You can choose to become just stay small in your small dream, and one day you will outgrow the smallness. And now it will feel like a shoe that doesn't fit anymore.
Right.
And you begin limping and limping because it's painful to stay small as well, because your
Mhm.
foot is meant to grow. There is a stage in life where the foot is growing. So you really can't stay in a size 4. At one point, it will be so painful that it will just, you won't walk. So that's how I like to explain it. Like, choose your pain. Is it the pain of expansion or is it the pain of contraction? Because
Right.
they're all painful.
Absolutely. And it's important to know that, there is that saying that the nervous system and the brain will choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven.
Mm.
even though the freedom exists, it's like because our brains are hardwired for safety, for survival, right? So anything that threatens that there's going to be your heart's going to palpitate, your palms are going to sweat. And it's important to realize that like that fear in that space of growth can be called fear or excitement. It's like you sending your emails. Am I going to live in a state of, oh my God, I'm too much? Or I am delivering this gift with sweaty palms. I'm going to deliver, and we have to, and like discerning the truth inside these spaces, these choice point moments of, like you said, I'm going to feel sensation either way, but how am I going to define it? And how will that color the life? My song in the world needs to be sung. And without it, the symphony of the universe is not complete, right? But if we're just on the sidelines waiting, another thing that I work with my clients with a lot is perfectionism, right? They're waiting for it to be better or perfect, or it's like, yeah, but you don't get better without playing terribly in the beginning. You know what I mean? Like that's
You
the
have to
growing process.
suck
That's the
before you're
learning.
good. Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
suck before you're good.
And the quickest way, right? We think we're
Yeah.
waiting to be ready, but it's like the readiness happens in a moment when we decide we're ready and then willing to take that next messy step. And it's a practice.
Yeah, this is so good, Jenny. Let me show you what I've written, and I want us to talk through because I've done some of this expansion work, and most of it is unconscious. And especially if someone is not living consciously, they will call it something else. I remember when I had a block around selling, and I couldn't help people beyond their objection. So I would say, oh, this program is 20,000. And the person would say, oh, Prima, there's no way I can afford that. And I would be like, okay, that would be it. Or they would be like, I want to speak to my spouse. And I'd be like, cool. They would give me any objection. You know what, Prima, I really don't have time. And I'd be like, for sure. And there was not a part of me that was comfortable trying to process that. And sometimes what was happening for my people is I would say a price and their dream would like grip on them like, and they would feel like throwing up, like, oh my God.
Absolutely.
This baby could finally come out. Like, if I commit at this level, if I play at this level, I could give birth to this baby. And I'd be like, no, it's too hard. I don't know. And they would be like, Prima, I don't have time. Oh, I don't have the money. And I would see the angst and I'd be like, I do not want to make this person more comfortable than they already are. And I would let people go. And I did that until one day I understood that I had my own block around the discomfort into someone's dream or mission or whatever the thing put the dream inside of them.
Yeah.
And I called it alignment for a very long time. I called it pushy sales for a very long time. I called it being sleazy for a very long time until I learned to help people find a place of peace to make a decision, whether that was hiring me or not hiring me. Saying, okay, I feel like there's a part of you that is resisting this, but there's a part of you that really wants this to happen. Is that correct? And they say, absolutely. And I go, all right, what if I was to hold space for you and you would drop the anxiety and come to a place of peace where you can say, yes, Prima, or no, let's not do it. Would that be valuable? And people were like, yes, please, because I feel like throwing up. And then we would hold space and people would be like, I feel so much better and I don't want to do this now. Now, it was really helpful. Oh, I feel so much better. I see really what I need to do. I need to build this thing. Help me. Until I dropped that block, I wasn't able to hold that space. And so I want to speak through what are some of the things that might be blocks, but we see them as something else. Because I don't know who said this quote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will drive your life, your decisions, and you will call it fate. So me, I like to say that until we bring these blocks to the surface, you may call them alignment, you may call them something else, and they will drive your fate. Until you bring them to the surface, go through them, and then decide that I'm making this decision from my highest place and I don't want to do it, or I want to do it. So walk me through, when is it a block versus when is it an alignment issue?
I love this question. It's like we have to have discernment between these things,
Yes,
right? And
yes.
it's so hard to know. And for me, I always use the metaphor of like who's in the driver's seat of the bus. Right? Like if my authentic, sovereign, higher self, adult version of Jenn isn't driving the bus, and some anxious, teenage, rebellious part of me is, because we all have these parts, then the answer or the action is not going to be coming from alignment, right? And as you were speaking, it's like in order to invest, let's just use this as an example, at a $20,000 level, an identity death is going to be required, because who you are playing in that container with you is going to be different than the smallness that's making the decisions in your life right now, right? So there's an identity death. Like nobody wants to talk about the death you have to die in order to become. That's the messy laboring, right? It's the butterfly that goes into the cocoon, or the caterpillar that goes into the cocoon, becomes absolute goo before it reforms itself and becomes the butterfly, and then has to push outside to build the wings so that it can fly, right? It's like there is a process, a transformational process. So knowing where the person is in that journey is very helpful, but also understanding that as a healer, as a coach, you can't ask somebody to do something you haven't done yourself. Like you said, you weren't making those sales because you were getting the no's because you had to use that as a moment for your own growth, right? The same way on the other side, the client has to be willing to do their own work to come into alignment and let go of the smallness, to get themselves the driver's seat of their life, in the driver's seat of their life, that higher version of themselves. And we have to know who we're talking to, because this is why trauma-informed work is so important to me. If something I'm doing is activating my client into a trauma response, and they're not responding to me, but they start reacting, my work is to get them back into their center so that we can actually move forward together, right? So for me, it's that deep sacred holding and inquiry into all of these parts get to have a say. Let's talk to the anxious one. Let's talk to the fearful one. Let's talk to the one that's absolutely certain this is the worst idea you could ever do because it needs to protect you and keep you safe, right? And once all of those parts of you have a voice, that they know that they're valued, that they get to be seen, the whole nervous system starts relaxing, and then it makes it easier to actually move into making that hard, scary decision we know is actually creating a breakthrough, not part of a breakdown.
Ooh, I love this. Oh, I love this so much. Let's talk about, like, I'll read for you what I've seen and you can kind of add. I have seen blogs around invitations. I can't sell publicly, privately. I feel like I'm taking from people. I feel like I'm being pushy. Like, I feel like I'm overselling. Like there's a blog around saying, hey, would you like to come in for more access, for more whatever? There's a lot of free stuff, but like, would you like coming into my closer circle, inner circle, whatever it is, for me to hold more space for you? A lot of people have a block around that. And I recall when I did this work on myself, I came to something like, I am okay with an invitation. So I moved from, I want them to buy, to If you feel called to this thing, this is your invitation. And
It's an
that,
invitation. Yeah.
yes, that became really good. I was like, whoo, it's an invitation. It's a party. They don't have to come and they don't have to go to VIP. And it's a flight. You can go on the coach and you can go VIP and it's all fine. You're gonna reach there. So I began to feel really comfort around invitation in two different containers because now I could see it as, do you feel called to play at this level? If yes, let's do the work that actually sits in that container and let's see if it's something for you. Blocks around marketing, which is the first thing you said, like fear of visibility. I have had people have like fear of going live, which is the thing you heard. Like, I can't go live because I'm like, you can't go live because what? Because, and I'm like, okay, what about writing content? And I'm like, is there something that needs to go? Because somehow we have to communicate. You can't go live. Okay, you don't want to go live. Maybe let's say that's out of alignment. But then, can you go on a podcast? Like, how can you get the message in front of people? There has to be something that feels aligned. Otherwise, then we're in avoidance and we need to, there's people who can't run ads because who knows? I have seen people who have a lot of things and I have walked through a lot of things. But for me, the most dangerous blocks I have had have been blocks that seemed like, well, that's not for me. That's
Right.
not aligned. Why? Because I got angst around it. Is it not aligned or is it I am scared to step into the level
Exactly.
Is it resistance or is it alignment? And I want you to kind of, if someone, whoever is listening, I want you to kind of sit with yourself and allow yourself to discern, is this alignment or is it resistance that is going to keep me small? But let me hand over to Jenny. I want to kind of get her opinion around, I'm feeling resistance versus this is not in calibration with my true self, and that's why I don't like it. Help me there, because I get people who have confused these and they continue to keep themselves small because it's not aligned. And I'm like, well, is it not aligned or are we resisting it? Help me there.
I think this is a really important question. And before I go into that, and remind me to come back to it if I get distracted by my point, because as you were speaking, one of the things that came up for me and like the roots of scarcity is where all of this comes from, right? We all have scarcity in our family lineages, in our history, in our lived experience. So that's a piece of consciousness that needs to be addressed. And in that, going back to asking for the sales and how you really reframed like, oh, it's an invitation for them to play with me. So many healers, and I'm just going to speak to that group of people because coaches, healers, highly sensitive people, spiritually aware, they're my market. They're the people I know. They're givers. They can give away free things all day long and they don't ask for anything because they are terrible receivers. It's really having to expand our capacity to have what we want and to open more deeply to receive what is rightfully ours. And scarcity says it's for other people. It's not for me, right? So getting to the root of, like when somebody gives you a compliment, if I just say to you, oh my God, you are so beautiful. I love your energy. I think you're so gorgeous. I'm so happy to spend this time with you today. It's like, does that land in your system when you're like, oh, heck yeah, thank you. So grateful to be here with you. Or do you feel, oh, I can't even let a compliment come in, right? So how can we ask for $20,000 when we can't even receive a compliment from a stranger in the store telling us we have a beautiful smile? When the unworthiness is tangled up in our receivability. So it's like, again, there are so many layers to this conversation that we're having. And at the root, as women, as healers, the poverty of artists and spiritual people. It's like we are working through massive, global, collective stuff, right? It's like it's so heavy and so thick. It's not just about us, but every time one woman frees herself into financial sovereignty, when one spiritual person says, I am worthy of what true abundance in my life is, then it starts loosening this net of darkness that shrouds all of us so that humanity can be free, right? And we do that by addressing it inside of our own hearts and our own lives. So for me, that is a huge piece of the work I do. You can't sell stuff if you can't receive stuff. So it's always looking at receivership.
I have never seen it as you have an incredible ability to give. But when it comes to receiving, there's an avoidance there. It's like you're closed off to receiving.
Exactly. Like closed sign, right? Like you think you have a business, but the door isn't even open. If somebody wanted more, could they even find you? Are you making it easy for them? Most of the time, no.
Wow. I feel I'm picking up something like we might have activated people here. We might have, touched in people's wounds. So is there a 5-minute process to kind of, calm people down that you can do now? Because I feel like people are like, I can't believe you touched that. I can't believe you touched that. That's my wound.
Yes.
That's my wound. People are like, so if we've activated you, is there anything do you have any process to kind of get people in?
I would be so honored if you're willing. Like if listeners are willing to just acknowledge, like the beautiful thing about these kinds of conversations that they are activating, right? Like my job as a healer is to point the light into the shadow place in you that's ready to grow. And so I welcome the discomfort, right? That's one of the things I didn't say before, but becoming comfortable with discomfort is how we move through rather than stopping ourselves at that point. So the invitation is just to allow yourself in this moment to come into the present. Like really feeling your feet on the floor, taking a moment to feel the seat beneath you. And just notice your breath in your body. If there has been an activation, you might feel some tightness or your heart racing, or it might, a little tightness in your belly, and it might be hard to get your breath in. Whatever is here in this moment is perfect and welcome. The body is the doorway to the highest wisdom wanting to be born through you. And when we learn to slow down and get out of our minds and out of our stories and drop down into our hearts and our bodies, the real work can begin. So we activate the higher self, that part of you that when it is in the driver's seat is discerning and always serving your highest good. We just invite it to show itself to you in this moment right now. See if you can feel into the places that are being held deeply by this sacred element of who you are. And that whatever is activated is here to be seen, to be held, and to be loved back into a state of wholeness. Just letting your breath drop in a little more deeply as you start to slow your system down. and really honor that sensation in your body or that memory that's rising to the surface. A voice that might be repeating again and again to get your attention. Just really moving into a state of allowance without the need to fix or change or make anything be different. Just deeply honoring everything that brought you to this moment and the wisdom in all that wants to be revealed as you move forward. The truth is, you are more powerful than you can imagine. You are a creator of your life. You have everything you need inside of you to give birth to this beautiful sacred gift that is unique to you and you alone. There is a sacred symphony being sung, and your voice is a holy and important piece of that symphony. And the way we begin turning the volume up on that authentic part of who we are is like a radio dial turning down the voices of self-doubt, criticism, of judgment, of hatred, of betrayal, and really giving back the energy of all of those voices that belong to other people, just releasing them out into the universe and giving them back to the people they belong to. These stories, these lies that we tell ourselves, that were told to us, are no longer required or necessary or part of where your mission is guiding you. And allowing yourself to take another nice deep breath in, knowing that this is a very brief taste, but that you can come back and listen again, that there are resources to support you in your life that will show up in perfect time and be exactly what you need. Taking a moment to give thanks and gratitude for whatever showed up, for whatever insight or wisdom you might have received, and also really acknowledging yourself for having the courage to show up for the miracle that is your life, that thing that is calling you forward into greatness. And then as you feel ready, just slowly, slowly coming back into this moment without rushing or hurrying, just beginning to feel the air on your skin, the weight of your body in the chair, just coming back into this moment and opening your eyes and joining us here together again.
So it is.
And so it is.
Thank you, Jenny. If the person listening is going, oh my God, I definitely want to learn more from Jenny, well, where should they go?
Yeah, so it's really easy. It's Jenn with 2 N's, savage.com. My website is full of information, and there will be some guided meditations and things for them to take next steps forward.
There you have it. There you have it. Go check out my friend Jenn Savage. Go to our website, check her out. Amazing stuff. She's been doing this for 2 decades. It would be a disservice to the world that she keeps her work a secret. I'm glad she's here. Jenny, what would be your parting words for us?
What's coming to me right now is just trust yourself, like deeply, like you know what you need and what is right. And building that trust will really open the doors. To trust yourself. Yeah, trust yourself.
There's gonna be discomforts in staying small. There's also gonna be discomforts in saying yes to the calling inside your heart, the desire for more. This is our invitation. Make a choice. Are you gonna be the person that finally can't fit in the shoe and they're limping, or are you gonna say, yes, I wanna birth this baby and I wanna love this baby and I don't wanna fight with labor. Let it happen.
Call in those midwives that can support you in making it possible.
There's a bouncing baby waiting at the end of the tunnel. It's gonna take going through the mix, the labor, and everything in between to birth the bouncing baby. There's resources to help you. There's materials to help you. There's containers to hold you. So don't suffer in silence. I love you. I'm sending you all my love and light. I will talk to you soon. It's been such a pleasure, Jenny, having you.
It's been such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And for you that is listening, I can't tell you how much I am honored and proud and really humbled that you get to spend time on the podcast, sharing, supporting, learning, growing, and showing up for your higher self. You have my full respect, my honor, and my love. I'll talk to you soon.